There's a number of problems if you don't register it in the right state. You will not be recognized in a court if you need to sue someone or you get sued. Secondly, most states charge a penalty for failure to register in the state you're actually conducting business in.
There's over 10 million of you out in the country that have set up an LLC for your small business. And let me just say this, do not get sucked into the stupid Wyoming thing, which we love in the right instance. Set it up in your state, leave it there, do it right, get it compliant, and don't worry about this other state crap.
Welcome, everyone, to the Main Street Business Podcast. This is Matt Sorensen, joined by the incredible Mark J. Kohler. We're excited to be here talking about LLCs and what you should be doing to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, that one sheet of paper may not be your ticket out of a lawsuit or a IRS audit. There's more to an LLC than that little thing you file with the state.
Yeah, and what state do you file it with is critically important. Many of you might be setting up LLCs in a particular state, but you own real estate in another state, or you do business in multiple states. And we want to talk about, when do I register that LLC into another state? We'll talk about some of the drawbacks if you don't do it, which we're going to say, don't screw this up. There's 4 reasons why you get jacked up if you do this wrong. We're going to go over those. Then also talk about the common structures and strategies we see people use that make sense on how to register these and make sure you're protected in the states you're operating.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, we're going to jump into it right now. And Matt, I say we riff, like a good old guitar band in the basement. Let's just go for it. I'll play a little, string or two here, then you play a couple. And the point is, there's a lot to there's a lot to cover, folks, in a short time here. So we're going to jump into it, and we're going to give you some resources where you can get a consultation with a very affordable little tax law boutique firm, no matter where you're at in the country, that can help you dial in your structure affordably. You may have been doing the DIY method of just setting up what I heard I should do and Googling this and Googling that, and you know better. You know it's time to get it tidied up. We'll give you some resources. All right. I think just as much as asking when should you register your LLC in another state is kind of like, when should I not? And so I'm going to start there, Matt. I'm going to say most LLCs, and I've done the research, most LLCs are not to hold rental property. They're the side gig, side hustle, small business owner that all they know is, I got to set up an LLC to start my business. So I just want to speak to you. There's over 10 million of you out in the country that have set up an LLC for your small business. And let me just say this, set it up in the state where you're doing business. Do not worry about Wyoming, Nevada, Delaware, or all that BS. Set up your LLC and do it right. That's a whole other conversation, but set up that LLC in the state where you're doing business, and you're only going to register it in another state if you go get property there, open a location, get employees there, go do a major project there. But if you're just live in Oklahoma and you're going to do a one-off consultation in Alabama, you don't need to go register in Alabama. But if you get employees in Alabama, open an office in Alabama, then we're going to have to register there. But for 98% of you small business owners out there, do not get sucked into the stupid Wyoming thing, which we love in the right instance, but it's not the case for the small business owner with the side gig, side hustle, trying to build a business. Set it up in your state, leave it there, do it right, get it compliant, and don't worry about this other state crap. That's my first point.
Yeah, and I'll say this, no matter what we're talking about, the state you set up the LLC or a state you failed to register because you're operating in multiple states, you have property in multiple states, there's a number of problems if you don't register it in the right state. For example, you will not be recognized in a court if you need to sue someone or you get sued. That LLC does not exist in that state. Secondly, most states charge a penalty for failure to register in the state you're actually conducting business in. The state of California is $20 a day with a maximum penalty of $10,000. Most states have that. Okay. So it's not like, I just picked the wrong state. No, you're supposed to register in the state that you're operating at, and there's fines and penalties for not doing it. So I want to make sure you're focused on getting it right, but also, why did you set up an LLC in the first place? Asset protection. Am I going to get asset protection if I don't have an LLC in that state, in the state I'm operating in, or I got a property in, something happens, a tenant slips and falls? I can't rely on my state or my LLC in Wyoming for my rental property in Oklahoma. Do you think a judge in Oklahoma cares? No, we need that entity registered into that state or set up in that state in the first place, because the asset protection we're hoping for from the LLC, we want to ensure that we get in the state where we're conducting business, which is where you're going to be defending a lawsuit.
I like that. And I just, of course, went to one extreme of when you shouldn't even really worry about another state. Yeah. I love your example, Matt. I'm going to use your example, Matt, of that rental property. I don't know why we chose Oklahoma today.
Yeah. Oklahoma.
Yeah. It's
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Come on.
Yeah. I hear you.
Steve Martin.
Oh, my gosh. Here's the thing. Matt's example is perfect. When you do need to be worrying about this most explicitly is when you're a rental property owner. If I live in California and I have a rental property in Oklahoma, I need to set up my entity in Oklahoma first and foremost. Now, you might choose to set it up in Wyoming from a more advanced asset protection concept, but then that entity needs to also be registered in Oklahoma. At the end of the day, whether you start the entity in Oklahoma or start it in Wyoming, it has got to be registered in the state where the rental property is. And that, again, is not just $50 and an online form. You've got to make sure that you've got all the pieces and parts with your minutes, a good operating agreement, a corporate book, and it has to be coordinated because you're going to be paying annual fees in Wyoming, annual fees in Oklahoma. And I hate to say for your Californians, if you're the manager of that LLC, you already know the technical rule is you have to be registered in California too, because they said if you're the manager of an LLC anywhere in the country, you're doing business in California. Thank you very much, Gavin Newsom. But the point is, some states are more aggressive at making sure you're registered there. Other states are not. And now, I know you're out there, throw up your arms and go, what the hell do I do? I'll tell you, down in the description, the first call to action is just get a call with one of our tax lawyers for 1 hour. Now, we have a comprehensive consult where we build this kick-ass trifecta and bring it all together. But just
review
get
your
a
tax
call.
return.
Yeah, we'll look at tax returns. We'll bring the whole thing together. Sorry, Matt, I'm going on a little bit, but I know some of you out there are frustrated going, you know what? This is why I don't deal with it, because it gets so confusing. So I just wanted to say, we do have a resource. It's the first call to action in the description. Get a consultation. You will love it. We will save you more than you pay us. Guaranteed.
Yeah. And the other thing that comes up, let's just stick on the rental property here. We'll talk about an operating business in a second. But let's say that you did the LLC in Oklahoma for that Oklahoma rental, and then you're buying another rental property and it happens to be in Texas. Well, can I use that same Oklahoma LLC? Do I set up a new LLC in Texas? Well, the first thing you can do is just register that Oklahoma LLC into Texas. It's the same LLC. It's still XYZ Properties LLC. It's just registered in multiple states. Still one bank account, right? And so it keeps it simple. Now, the benefit of that is I just have that one LLC. It's a little cheaper filing fee to just do what's called a foreign registration. This is where you take an LLC from one state and you say, hey, I've got an Oklahoma LLC already. I'm not setting up a new LLC with you guys. Just recognize this Oklahoma LLC to be doing business in Texas now. And the state says, cool, we recognized you. Thank you for the filing fee. We're going to charge you an annual fee too. And you need to have a registered agent here as well. And we help you with that. By the way, we have the registered agent service in all 50 states with our company, Main Street Business Services. So we can get you recognized in both states. Now, the downside to that approach is, well, I've got two properties now in the one LLC. It was easy. I didn't have to set up two LLCs. But now if something goes wrong on one property, that could affect the other. And if you have a lot of equity between the properties, you may not want to keep the same LLC and have it registered into multiple states. You may actually want a separate LLC in Texas for that separate Texas rental property or portfolio you're doing there, so you can get separate liability treatment.
I like it. Now, let's go operational. Now, I'll be transparent. I'll use an example. In our organization, we do have a few employees working remote. And you, as a scaling business, might just start having other locations where you may hold materials, warehouse materials, or have remote workers, and that's
or an office.
In a variety. Yeah. And when you do that, your company is now doing business in that state. So we have an employee that works out on the East Coast in South Carolina, and so we have to do payroll in South Carolina. When we do payroll in South Carolina, the Secretary of State and the Department of Taxation out there says, whoa, your little firm is now doing business in our state because you're hiring an employee out here. You need to properly issue a W-2 to this employee, and this means you're doing business here. And we are not going to give you a payroll ID number unless you register your entity here. So we were forced to register our entity in that state as a foreign entity, pay the annual fee, keep it in good standing, and then we could get our payroll ID number so that we could have that employee working in that state. Now, some of you may go, gosh, that's a lot of work to have an employee over there. Yeah, maybe it was a few $100 to get it initially going, and we've got to do it. But the payroll service, it's an extra $100 or two, to issue a W-2 in another state. It's not the end of the world. We may get better talent. We actually took that employee. She relocated out east because of her husband's employment. And we said, we don't want to lose you. We're willing to pay some of these extra fees because it costs us more to retrain and find another employee of your caliber. And she's been wonderful. She knows who she is, so I won't say her name here, but we just love her. And so that was worth it. But we had to register a company in that state because we had a remote worker.
Yeah. And I think the general rule of thumb for the operational business is, you have an employee in that state. You obviously open an office. Like Mark said, you're storing assets there, equipment or inventory. The state's going to be like, hey, you need to register here. That LLC, again, this is just a foreign registration for the operational businesses, not too complicated. There's some annual fees and stuff that you'll get sucked into there and some reporting, but not too significant. And obviously, if you're a company going into multiple states, you should have somebody on your team, whether it's a controller, accountant, or CFO, or someone that can manage this for you. But the action of just like meeting a customer, holding meetings in other states, even getting sales out of other states, that doesn't mean you've got to go set up and register that entity foreign into that state, okay? So don't think just because I got customers there, or I got sales there, or I'm shipping to that state, I got to go register that LLC foreign. It's more about physical presence of your organization, employees, or the company's assets.
And we are not talking today about tax issues because
yes, or sales tax or apportionment. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you're a PGA golfer, you may go to a tournament and you may come to the waste management tournament and play in Phoenix, Arizona in the spring, or I should say the winter. I think it's February. But you come play in the tournament and you have winnings. Well, Arizona is going to tax that because you earned money in Arizona as a PGA golfer. But from a legal standpoint, you weren't doing business there. It was a one-off experience. Now, for example, Matt and I, we're going to speak at multiple events in the country throughout the year. So if I get called to go speak at a conference in, where was I? Austin, Texas. Well, I shouldn't use Texas because, well, yeah, I'll use Austin. They don't have a state tax in Texas. But was I doing business in Texas? No. I was called in to speak at an event. It was a de minimis or a one-time or infrequent visit. I don't have employees there. I don't have an office there, so I don't have to register there. Now, if I was to go camp out in Texas for a month or two, visit a lot of clients, maybe rent a little shared corporate space for 60 days, now I'm doing business in Texas. So there's going to, and it's gray, but this is what, in a consultation with one of our lawyers, we can help you identify when you need to go to that level and when you don't.
And I think for the operational business, generally there's hopefully only a few states you need to register in. And it doesn't all come at once. It's not like, oh, I've got to go register in all 50 states. And that's very rare you would even see that. I mean, you've got to be a big multinational to even be stressing about that. So I would, again, just think of your physical presence, employees, yourself, equipment, assets, and where those are located. That's generally going to be where you need to get registered. Just so you have that on the top of your mind, whether you need to stress about this or not. Don't worry about the customers. Don't worry about the sales. Don't worry about where you're shipping stuff or where people are paying you from. It's not as much of an issue it's not an issue, I should say, in terms of like where you need to register your LLC or your corporation. I'm
going to, again, get a little transparent here, and I'd be interested in what you think, Matt, is my wife, Patty, and I, we have, probably 20 LLCs. For different reasons, operational and holding real estate. And we have real estate in probably, let's say, 4 different states, maybe 5. Well, it can be a lot to stay organized. And so I want to give you all a pro tip. We have a master spreadsheet in Excel where we have all of our entities. And we also have a portal at Main Street Business Services. Main Street Business Services is a company Matt and I set up 15 years ago to help clients keep their address private. Because when you go register in another state, they're going to say, who are you? What's your address? We got to have an address. And clients will just put their own address down. All of a sudden, your home address is out there to the world. And so we started to say, well, we'll be your registered agent. We can even be your company address. And we will track all of these entities for you when you need to pay your annual fee, and are they in good standing? Because if you don't meet, and on our calendar we issue every year, probably there's 40 different deadlines. Vermont, you have to register in December, and in California it's in April, or it's the day you registered your entity in that state. That's the month every year. So different states have different rules. We track all of that. For a couple $100 a year, we have a company compliance program. So for each entity, you're now in a portal. We've got them tracked in our spreadsheet, and it saves Patty and I a lot of time because I don't want to track that crap. So Main Street Business Services is a great resource if some of you are looking for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you start growing, whether it's a businesses you have in different states you're operating in, or you got multiple rental properties or LLCs, and that's even in one state. I mean, that can be a lot to manage and things. That's like the last thing you want to be thinking about. Did I renew that properly? Did I get it registered in the right state? Did I do my minutes? Is my stuff private? If that's something I'm concerned about, like what are my options there? I mean, that's exactly what Main Street Business Services does every day. We keep it simple for you. So we just take care of it and take it off of your plate. Go focus on making more money in your business. Like don't turn yourself into your secretary because you don't want to have someone else do your LLCs and corporations. So great tip there. And by the way, you can get a free call with the team at mainstreetbusiness.com. Go there to book a call with the team to learn about those services and how we can take that off your plate, make sure it's handled properly, and make sure these entities are in good standing. And that asset protection you're hoping for and planning for by using LLCs properly and corporations is actually going to be there for you. You're registered in the right states. You're making sure those are renewed so you're in good standing so you get that asset protection you paid for when you set that LLC up in the first place. I'm
just going to mention a couple last final pro tips, if I could. When you register in another state, there's two things they're going to ask for. This registered agent, who is going to, in that state, receive notice if someone's pissed off. That's what it says. That's what a registered agent is. Someone's mad, whatever. You got a rental property there. Someone's mad at our employee there, whatever. They're going to go to the state website and look, who is the registered agent that I contact or serve? Our service is, what is it, Matt? $150 to be someone's registered agent. $125. When did we decrease our price? What the hell?
Maybe I got it wrong.
I'm just joking. $125? I thought it was $150. Okay, well, so you guys are already getting a deal. No, so that service we provide in all 50 states because it has to be an address in that state. So don't get frustrated when you go to register foreign. We'll do it for you for a few $100. But if you try to DIY it, which is fine, they're going to ask for the registered agent. Well, you can say, hey, guys, I don't want you to register for me, but will you at least be my registered agent? Sure. Just get over to mainstreetbusiness.com, say, I need you to be my registered agent in Georgia, and I just registered my company there. Okay, cool. Second pro tip, when you're registering in that state, they're going to need the company address. Now, the company address does not have to be in that state. Only the registered agent does. So again, you can use your company address in Arizona if you're setting up an LLC in Georgia with your rental property. But just don't use your home address, please. Freaking A. Try to use an innocuous address. We have a virtual mailbox service that's cheaper than any post office P.O. box. Holy crap. If any of you haven't been down to the post office and tried to get a P.O. box, first of all, you have to give blood in your firstborn child. Then it is so freaking expensive. It blows my mind. We have a virtual mailbox service where our law firm will be your address, and they got to go through us to find out who the hell you are. So that privacy can add a lot of benefits too. So when you go to the state to register foreign, you can do it. Go DIY the hell out of it. But just know we'll be your registered agent, and we can be your address so that you have a little more privacy. Your name may be out there. That's a whole other strategy too, but at least not your address. Try to be careful with that.
Yeah. So, there's a lot that can go into this, but we don't mean to overwhelm you. Just give you some quick answers on what you need to stress about, what state you're in, what not, and then make sure that you're being actively maintaining that entity and getting it done properly, and also knowing the resources that you have to reach out when you need the expertise or you want to have someone take that off the plate for you. But we have a lot of resources, I'll say, and I think at the mainstreetbusiness.com website, there's a lot more resources there and information. At KQS Lawyers, of course, there's more you can learn too on our team and how we can help.
I've got another one that was a common question here. I think we have 2 more minutes. This is one where people will say, okay, let's say I'm living in Idaho. We have an office in Idaho. I used to live in Idaho. And we're
registered in Idaho with our entity. There you go.
Yeah. That's right. And let's say Matt calls me up and he goes, hey, I got this project down here in Arizona. It's pretty cool. It's an operational business. It could even be, maybe it's a fix and flip rehab scenario with a lot of action. So we're going to need to use our S corporations. So we would choose to set up an LLC in Arizona because we're going to be doing business there. And we want to funnel the profit through our S corps. So that's going to be our tax strategy. So we set up our LLC in Arizona because we're doing business in Arizona. And Matt says, well, are you going to own this, Mark? And I go, no, I'm not going to own it. My S corporation is going to own it. And Matt's S corporation is going to own it. Well, now here's the question. Does my S corporation in Idaho have to register in Arizona? It does not. It's simply an owner of the LLC in Arizona. Now, for tax purposes, it's pretty kick-ass. My profit's going to go over to my S corp in Idaho, and that'll save me on self-employment tax. I will get a K-1 from the operation in Arizona that'll go to my S corp, but I don't have to register my S corp in Arizona because it's not the one doing business there. So for some of you that have LLCs that invest in other LLCs, just worry about the LLC doing business in that state, not the LLC that's investing in the LLC.
Oh, I love that scenario. And it made me think of another one that I've had every once in a while comes up, which is, hey, I have real estate in, let's say, Colorado, and I own that through an Arizona LLC because I just have that Arizona LLC and it's a cabin or it's raw land. It's not, I don't rent it out. So I'm not in business. Do I need to register in that state? You actually don't. Most states will say that out-of-state entities can own real estate in their state unless those are put into business, as for example, as a rental property that's short-term or long-term. So just keep in mind, you can use an out-of-state entity to own real estate in another state, and most states don't require that. Now, one caveat I've had, and sorry, I went down the rabbit hole on this.
No, this is great. This is good.
One caveat I had on that is there was a county, though, that wouldn't transfer the title. And the title company's like, sorry, that's just how it works here in this state and these counties is they won't let you transfer if it's an out-of-state entity. So we had to register that client's LLC in there, even though in this example, I can't remember what it was, if it was the cabin or the raw land or whatever it was, that wasn't put in, wasn't in business or conducting business. So some states will, put their foot down on that, at least when you're trying to transfer titles. So just heads up there. I like
Matt's example, and I want to riff on it for a minute. This is kind of where we're like, I just take off. Maybe this is the drum solo portion.
Yeah, this is the encore too. We came back on stage.
Yeah, we came back. Yeah,
saying goodbye.
Encore. Totally. Okay, now everybody remember what his scenario was. Lives in Arizona, bought a cabin in Colorado. And it's funny you say that because we just had some friends buy a little piece of land in Steamboat, and they're building out a little cabin. They're not going to rent it out. It's kind of just their own little personal property. But they want it in their Arizona LLC. Now, if the county in Colorado and Steamboat is cool with it, you can just transfer the title into the LLC. Don't worry about the bank. There's not going to be a due on sale clause. You're still the underlying owner of the property if you're on the mortgage. So, but they're not doing business. So Matt's not worried about the asset protection per se. Now, there's some people would argue, well, there could be a random hunter or some kids on four-wheelers that go in there and screw around on the property and get hurt. I'd like my LLC registered in Colorado. Okay, but you're not doing business there. It's more kind of a little asset protection technique. Now, let's say Matt goes, well, I'm going back to Colorado and I'm going to buy a rental property down the street. I saw this property that'd be great for a short-term rental. It's down the street from my own cabin, so I can kind of check on it from time to time, maybe even take some business tax write-offs to go check on it, stay in my own cabin, cool write-off strategy. Well, I'm going to set up a Colorado LLC for that. Well, my Arizona LLC is going to own the Colorado LLC. Kind of like that S Corp to Arizona deal with Matt that was operational. This one's going to be a holding company strategy. So I'm going to use my Arizona LLC to really not own anything directly, but just own other LLCs that own the property directly. So I do not have to register my Arizona LLC in Colorado because I have a Colorado LLC there doing the heavy lifting. And then my Arizona LLC is just the owner. We have many, many clients that do that because they want that double layer of asset protection and a little more privacy because that Colorado LLC is not going to have their name anywhere. They don't want their address on it. They don't want their name on it. And they're going to use the Arizona LLC to try to be the front or the face. And that's where this Wyoming strategy comes in too. So that's next level, but our lawyers can walk you through that and keep it really quite affordable.
Yeah, and that's that holding company property entity, holding LLC, property LLC strategy. If you're someone that has more significant assets or equity in properties, that's definitely something we look at for clients. And like Mark said, Wyoming would be a popular place to do the holding company because of some privacy stuff that they do there and some charging order asset protection that's unique in that state for single member LLCs.
Well, I'm going to take us out with a very special sound. This is the sound of opening up some Fritos bean dip. If you don't have Fritos and bean dip on a regular basis, you're missing out on some of the most special things in life.
Oh, that was great.
Was that nice? This is my lunch. Frito and Frito bean dip. This
is an upgrade from your 7-Eleven lunch yesterday. Why don't you tell everyone what you had from 7-Eleven for lunch yesterday?
Well, they have a new egg roll that's out, and it's on the little rotisserie. It kind of goes from still cooking to cooked and ready to overcooked. Do not eat this. I usually take from the front. That's really.
Oh, is that's the trick?
That's where you're really testing your testing of your body to see how old really am I? Can my body handle this? I did okay. So, I'm still.
Yeah. Mark told me about how good this egg roll was from 7-Eleven. And I'm like, I'm just going to take your word for it.
You can go test it out yourself.
I'm good.
I would give it 5 stars out of 5, so.
Really? Wow, that's high praise.
Well, everybody, thank you for being here. We try to keep it light and fun. And you know what? The beauty of the American dream is that you get to do business in all 50 states. You really can. Don't worry. It's funny. Years ago, I'd meet people who are like, well, I can't buy a rental. There's nothing available in my area. What? You're freaking a Southwest flight and a Hampton Inn away from a killer deal. Get out there. And so the world is your oyster, my people. That's our message today. And it doesn't have to be expensive legally. You can do it. We've got the resources for you. Get a call with one of our lawyers. Get all of your entities on a freaking spreadsheet and over at Main Street Business Services. You'll love our new portal. We'll take care of you. Matt, final words?
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you like the show and you're still listening, whether you like egg rolls from 7-Eleven or not, we could give us a 5-star review, a thumbs up. Please share this podcast with your friends and family. We'll see you next time.